This is the Breeders' Cup News Minute for Friday, October 26th, just 1 week away from the Breeders' Cup World Championships at Churchill Downs. Ray, we have a lot to get to. Let's start with a couple of outs. Sharp Samurai will not be running in the mile due to a throat issue. Also, It's Gonna Hurt is out of the juvenile turf sprint with a suspensory problem. So we'll start with that. But then we also have a nor'easter coming up this weekend, which has forced some of the workouts that were scheduled for Saturday back to today. So what do we have there?
Yeah, it was a busy morning at Belmont Park today. A couple of horses that I'm particularly interested in the juvenile both went through the paces for trainers Shug McGahee and Chad Brown. The 1-2 finishers in the Champagne Complexity went a half mile in 48-1 for Chad Brown. Code of Honor, 5 furlongs, minute and 3/5 seconds for Shug. Both of those horses had their final workouts. Also having a final workout at Monmouth Park this morning was Mind Control for Greg Sacco, the hopeful winner, went a minute and 2/5 for 5 furlongs. The West Coast best horse for the juvenile is Game Winner for Bob Baffert. He worked a half mile at Santa Anita in 47 seconds. Baffert also sending out his 2 fillies for the distaff in Vale Dory and Abel Tasman. They went a half mile in 47-1 each. Baffert also had some news telling Daily Racing Form who will be riding his 2 horses in the Classic. Mike Smith had been riding both McKinsey and West Coast. He'll stick with McKinsey. John Velasquez has been named to ride West Coast.
Well, I have another development for the Classic, and that is that Roaring Lion over from Europe is going to run in that race instead of a turf race. His owner from Qatar Racing says he wants to prove before he goes off to stud that the 3-year-old by Kitten's Joy is the best horse in the world at 10 furlongs. Now, of course, the Classic is on the dirt. Roaring Lion has won 4 Group 1 races in a row in Europe, but they've all been on the grass. What do you think of this move?
Well, that's a tall order, and one of those Group 1s was just last weekend. So by Kitten's Joy, I've seen a lot of good turf horses try to win the Classic. This is not the greatest Classic field in history, but between the Baffert pair and Accelerate, this is not an easy spot for this horse.
One other note I think people would be interested in is that there's a horse, a filly, a 3-year-old filly in the mile named Polydream. And wouldn't you know it, she is trained by Freddie Head, who trained Goldakova to back-to-back-to-back wins in the mile. But you might not realize that he also rode Miesk in the mile as a jockey to back-to-back wins in the 80s. He is the only person that's ever won a Breeders' Cup race as both a jockey and a trainer. And now he has a 3-year-old filly in the mile. Very interesting.
That's a competitive race. She's certainly got a chance. Michael Stout has a horse in there I like a little bit. The mile is going to be truly one of the great races of the weekend.
All right, that's all we have for today. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Breeders' Cup News Minute presented by Adequan.